This is a gold sluice idea I was working on. Pardon me. Gold sluice idea I was working on about the last few days. For trying to see how some old of the historical drawings worked. Sort of as you'd expect, hopefully. I'm adjusting, by the way. It's not built, but that's kind of why I left it, though. This seems like it'd be a fun spot to hop into. Not quite the right grizzly bar basket setup, but like, so far it worked for sorting screws out. And then you get something for nothing sometimes. Yeah. I want to put a water bar in, but just haven't got the hose from the hardware store yet, and haven't decided where to put the hose in. I'm going to be building it on camera and painting it today. This is an old hi-hat that I just plugged up. Kind of want to put a hose in there or not. Figure I can play with it, but the nice thing is it does open up, so we gotta get washed out. And like I said, so far it catches screws and everything pretty nicely. Do it again, and I've got the fancier stuff, which more like the sand I'm planning to run, sorting gravel and whatnot, playing with pay dirt. I kind of want to play around with the whole Home Depot stuff, like see what Home Depot sand's like in my area. There's pennies, ball bearings, beans, kidney and red beans, some dimes. And probably when I go out and use a finer sand, I'll use something like this colander bin and just set it on there. So the grizzly bars are not greatest for the big rocks. Probably need more like a barbecue screen. So I mean, so far it's going to work pretty happily well. There's two little ball bearings stuck on the other side of the grizzly net right now. Kind of why maybe every real big operation has those bars versus a grizzly cage. And I just jammed it up, but they're clear now. And then yeah, so that's the idea. Came from like a 1880 drawing I saw on Google and a historical rocker table. Kind of looked like a guy next to a big old whiskey barrel and had like a pot of chili next to his gold trommel little setup. The gate is something I have from something else, the gate box. But I figure this way snap these up where they belong, trim them to fit. Get that out of the way. So I don't have to change any of the dimensions. I'm just gonna trace it from this one side and fit it up, and then trace it back on this side after I move that one and replace it with a full leg. It seems kind of quick and simple, and that's the way it is. It works pretty well for most things. I don't have to load bound really heavily, but I'm just going to take my pin drill and I'll pin drill through here, through the drawing side. That was on the inside, and that way I know the screws are going to land somewhere in the wood that I wanted to. Flip it around, flip it over, and as I was saying later on when I run the water through, there's a little riffle bar all the way down here. So it's still going to do the standard gold long sluice, but this seems to do the first nugget trap idea pretty well. Those old timers weren't the craziest, you know, hanging around being lazy all winter. I guess they figured out something. So I'm going to get back to work. I plan to go through a lot of sand this summer, cleaning out my drainage culverts from my mom's farm. All the runoff from the field. I bought several knives in that creek, so it would be fun to get one of those back. There we go. Love a good pole saw. They really do cut well. I guess we play devil's advocate for a second. There shouldn't be much of a reason why I couldn't just transfer that drawing. Eventually. At least for the cutouts, this is going to be pretty negligibly the same. Show you some holes as well. May have a few blowouts, but I'm planning to cover it with a lot of outdoor paint, so it should be relatively, you know, curse proof in terms of, yeah, messed up, we'll just cover it up with a little bit more paint. Who cares? The land there, and you can always trim the new board from the beginning. I should have this board and back up. Yeah. Aha. That may change a little bit, but either way I want to leave the sort of slant down angle, and I was just checking to make sure that I could cut this line and make that look a little bit nicer. Well, boxes in there, so pull saw. I'm not super concerned about them being exactly the same. Otherwise, I'd probably screw together and I'd cut it out twice. You know, cut that out and then screw that down as a template. Cut this out again. Cut a lot worse, so it's wobbling more. I wandered a little bit, but they do flex. They're kind of fun like that. It's a little bit nicer, but they're already covered with paint, so it doesn't really matter that much. Don't have any of that timestamp stuff, so I'm just going to build it, and if you want to zoom to the end, go right ahead. See how it works. There you go. But I do like to pile back all the holes when I can. I didn't have the drawings, so no. We'll be smart. Yeah. Not too bad. Here we go. Nope. So by piling in back, not quite piling in the holes, but I'll throw a few tacks in place. This thin pine board splits a lot, but really tiny screws are good to use on the edges without piloting in. I don't want to glue it because it's probably just going to be rebuilt eventually. now they're all at least tapped in to our starter hole. That's the knife edge riffle with the upper drop deck. That was the one weird thing, is the small little rocker boxes on the historical drawings. Clean that up. Get looser. The small little rocker boxes had this sort of salt box roof in reverse, and it kind of seemed like it had like a boiler chamber or a drift plate, not a miller's table, but a drift plate. I guess the tighter it gets, the better it is for me in the long run. You know, don't want to spill gold out while it's pre-milling, or just whatever the right term is for. It's gonna be a fine sand box, like I said, but not a really big rock processor, so I'm not quite sure what to call it. That little riffle got glued on yesterday so it wouldn't spill. Get that out of the way so it doesn't spill as well. Yes. That's all the kind of nice thing is that when it goes for cleanup, that's forgot a ball bearing and a bean. But when it goes for cleanup that way, you can break it apart, take a look at it a little easier. I got the expanded flattened sheet metal from work a while ago. So I had all the random stock. Like I was saying, a barbecue grill, maybe a better set of grizzly bars. I'll put the grizzly bars back in place. You see what's easier at this angle. I'll show you what I was talking about. Two more. So I first tested with a bunch of screws and it worked really good. The screws just tended to, until I had that there for the grizzly plate. As always, you know, you modify something and it gets worse sometimes. And then the screw gets caught down in the riffle again. So it seems like a fun idea. I didn't see any of the historical drawings having that, you know, rocket pocket or J riffle right there. Most of them just had the extra little, you know, mixing chambers, kind of like the big serpentine thing I've seen, like whatever brand it is, not Goldie Fox, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't really go look through catalogs. I just get bored and go build something. It's all out of scrap plant shelf material. I had some bonsai pots hanging around, so wrong way. I think that'll work just fine. So yeah, I'm just reusing the wood to clean up the house, and like I said, plans to clean the creek out. I'm gonna run some gold tests on the Home Depot sand and Lowe's sand, because you know, when you're bored, you know. Lines up. Don't normally run a huge screw on the end unless I run a full blank pilot. Kind of like I was saying earlier, that way the board doesn't blow out on you. And I doubt they really bothered about being that accurate in the old days when they worked. So it's still sitting pretty well closed. And the nice thing about that is here's a chance to find the screw into the wood and kind of line it all up like dowels going to a peg. Like right there, I just actually, I looked at it to make sure I found the hole, and then I let the screws draw together. And back to the side. And that punched through. Not too bad so far, honestly. Kind of looks like it's drifted, so I can see through all those right there. I'll do those in a minute. Screwed in. Maybe it'll squeeze together and seal back up. Pearls are really just abscesses over. Mistakes sometimes, grumbles, but paint will cover that up. One of the holes I just said I wanted to redo, and I'm talking about it too much while doing what I'm doing. It's really close to the edge. Still a bunch of rice and kernels in there, so let me just the joy about having a shop vac. It's a fun gamble to see how many you miss and don't. At least for me, at least. So that didn't miss, that just is not deep enough ground. Upgrade. Doo-doo-doo. Clickety clack, and I cracked it a little bit, but a little bit of crack. Probably don't need to do this since I'll be covering it with paint. Can't hurt. because of the way that paint or will interact with the glue. I mean, I'll probably leave that until tomorrow to paint that. Maybe the morning after, at least until I get back from doing errands. So, kind of like some old, rock sorter that I saw back at the county auctions when I was a kid. Kind of fun. I'll check all my holes are sort of lined up. I need to do that front plate. And we can get this out of the way. The one thing I did see that was written down, almost nothing was written down on the drawings except for, overall lengths. The only thing that was actually written down was the slope. 1.5 inch drop over 4 foot was this prescribed slope. I got it roughly on legs, so I can put like a crossbar in and put it on smaller truss legs later on. See what that. This board is really cut out. Okay. Not using that bad. So, because there's more firewood. Or, nah. Use one clip right there for now. There's a wood stove back there, trust me. And this was for the outer dimension, and now these are going back to the inner dimension. So. Pendulum. Watch the noise. If you had noise on, it could be. So before it was sitting on the outside, now it's going to be hocked in there right now. Should be fairly good. Yeah. I'll make it work. Well. That's what I get for breaking the one board and changing plans. It's going to be the bottom edge. I want to get into that. This is just a ledger board, so it's really just there for the paint to fill over. I didn't show earlier that that's supposed to be a downward angle. I think now that you'll be able to see it. So everything should roll downward.